Hi kids, welcome back to another Kids Central Online. I'm so glad you've joined us on this beautiful Sunday morning. And I hope this past week you guys were able to think about what your talents are. God has made you in His image, and He has given you special and unique personalities and also gifts and talents to share with other people. So please keep sending those videos to me. I'm going to be doing something very special with your talent videos. All right, guys, let's start out with our memory verse. This is our last week on this memory verse, and then next week we will be learning a new Bible verse. So last week I showed you guys some sign language that goes along with our verse. I'm going to do the sign language. Let's see if you guys remember what each sign stands for in the verse. All right, here goes. All right, do you think you got it? Let's see. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. John 14 verse 6. And that is Jesus talking about Himself. All right, guys, keep practicing that verse at home. Like I said, this is our last week with that verse. I'll be putting on the music at the end of this video for you guys to listen to, and hopefully all of that sinks in this week. All right, next, let's get into our big idea. This week, we are learning about how Adam and Eve disobeyed God. I'm going to be reading the story out of the Gospel Story Bible book. All right. The wonderful times that man and the woman enjoyed living with God in the Garden of Eden didn't last very long. Satan came into the garden in the form of a serpent who wanted to trick them. He went to the woman and tempted her to eat the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Remember last week I talked about two different trees. One of them was called the tree of life, which Adam and Eve could eat from freely in the garden. And the other was called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That was the only tree God said they could not eat from. He said when they did, they would die. But the serpent lied to the woman. He said, "You won't really die. What God said isn't true. What will really happen is that you will become like God, knowing good and evil." The woman believed Satan's lie. She disobeyed God and took some of the fruit and ate it. She made a terrible decision when she disobeyed God. Then, to make it even worse, she gave some fruit to Adam, who was with her. He ate it and disobeyed God too. As soon as they had realized what they had done, Adam and his wife were ashamed. They took some leaves and tried to make clothes for themselves to cover their nakedness. Later on, when God came walking in the garden, they were afraid and tried to hide from Him. But you can't hide from God. And you can't hide your sin from God either. God went after Adam and asked him why he disobeyed. Adam didn't have a very good answer. He blamed his wife. And when God asked the woman why she disobeyed, she blamed the serpent. God cursed the serpent for what he had done. Then God told the woman that there would be consequences for her sin. Things would become harder. She would have pain in ways that she would not have pain before. God put a curse on the ground and told Adam that from now on, farming would be hard work. The weeds would fight against him. And God also told Adam and Eve that they would return one day to the dust of the ground. Do you remember how we talked about how God made Adam from the dust of the ground and breathed life into him? Well, God had intended for Adam and Eve to live perfectly forever, but that was broken by sin. And so now Adam and Eve would one day die. That meant that Adam and his wife and humans from that day forward would die. That's what God had said would happen right from the beginning. God was the one who told them the truth, not the serpent. This is a very sad day. God sent the first two people out of the garden he had made for them. The garden that was filled with everything they needed to flourish, everything that God designed for them to be truly satisfied. But in the midst of this sadness, God gave them great hope. When God was cursing the serpent, he said that someday the woman would have children, and one of those children would crush the serpent's head. Now we know the serpent was really Satan in disguise. Satan would be defeated. When Adam heard that promise and understood that they would live to have children, he gave his wife the name Eve. This name meant that she would be the mother of everyone who would ever live. Did you know that God gave Adam and Eve some clothes made of animal skins to cover their nakedness? There was a secret promise in those first clothes. To make them, God had to sacrifice an animal. That pointed to the day in the future when Jesus, God's only Son, would be born into this world. He would come as a son in the family of Adam, a far, far, far off great-grandchild. Jesus would die on the cross, and he would be punished for the sin of Adam and all those who would trust in him, so they could once again be in a relationship with God. And Jesus would be the one to defeat Satan, just as God said.
You see, Jesus was the secret promise. He was the perfect sacrifice for our sin. And just like those animal skins covered Adam and Eve, he covers us with his righteousness. He makes us right with God again.
So let's talk about some things in this story. First, we see that Satan lied to Eve. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what's the big deal that she ate a piece of fruit? It probably looked good, and it was probably tasty too. But let's dive deeper than just her eating the fruit. Underlying her disobedience was the fact that she believed a lie rather than God. Eve had no reason to doubt God. God had given her this beautiful garden with everything her and Adam needed to survive and to flourish with life. But instead of trusting that God, our God, she trusted the lie. So it was truly her unbelief that caused her to disobey. Now, what did Adam and Eve do when they sinned? They tried covering up their nakedness with leaves. In that way, we try to do that sometimes when we sin. We try to hide our sin. We try to cover it up by doing good things and not telling anyone what's really in our hearts or our thoughts. But we can't hide anything from God. God knows our heart, and he knows our thoughts. And even if no one else sees the bad things we do, he sees them. The next thing Adam and Eve tried to do was they blamed someone else. Adam tried covering his sin by blaming Eve, and Eve tried covering her sin by blaming the serpent. We have all sinned and fallen short of God's glory, his perfection. Jesus died the death that we deserved. He received the punishment for our sin. When we believe in Jesus and we are made children of God, we have God as our Father who loves us, who helps us, and who forgives us. So when we sin, like Adam and Eve did, when we choose to believe a lie, that something else is better than obeying God, that something else is more satisfying than God himself, when we believe those things and we sin, God said that we can come to him and we can ask for forgiveness and he will forgive us and he'll wash us clean, our hearts clean from that sin. And he will help us to choose what is good and right and true.
Father God of the universe, you sent your Son to die for us. He gave up his life to set us free. Jesus, the Son of God, he rose again from the dead. He made a way to set us free. So I leave my life in your hands, 'cause you will complete what you started. I remember what you said. And you said, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. Father God of the universe, you sent your Son to die for us. His life to set us free. Jesus, the Son of God, he rose again from the dead. He made a way to set us free. So I leave my life in your hands, 'cause you will complete what you started. I remember what you said. And you said, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. To the Father except through me. I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me.
That is our big idea and our story for today. I hope you have a wonderful week, and please, please, please keep sending me those talent videos. I can't wait to see the talents and the gifts that God has given you. And I can't wait to do something fun and special with them and share them with others. In the meantime, keep sharing those things with your neighbors, with your friends, with your family. God can use the things you share to draw other people to Himself. All right, guys, I will see you right back here next week for another Kids Central Online. Bye.